Hi guys, I am the professor, also known as Luke. Thank you so much for tuning into this video and into this channel. Today what I wanted to do was just give you guys something a little more different than what we've usually been doing the past few weeks or so. So today, as promised, I wanted to go over EQ, what an EQ is, and also 3 common EQ mistakes that you should avoid making. All right, so an EQ, as I said in one of the other videos, is pretty much your ability to manipulate, enhance, or cut frequencies of an audio signal. So pretty much what you're able to do with an EQ is you're able to boost frequencies or cut frequencies to your liking or to the liking of the sound, pretty much. So I'm going to give you 3 tips that pretty much just discuss exactly what I'm talking about, and also 3 tips that you should definitely avoid if you are a producer, you're now starting off. I think this will be a great starting point if you're now starting off, or even if you're advanced, maybe just to hear it again. So these are going to be 3 common EQing mistakes that you should definitely avoid. So common EQing mistake number 1 is you're only using subtractive EQ. What that pretty much means is you're only cutting out frequencies and not necessarily boosting other ones. So this is actually a really big issue because even in my earlier tracks, I used to cut out frequencies only, and I didn't really necessarily understand the importance of what an EQ can do. I didn't understand what really you can do with an EQ and like how important it really is. So I think this is actually a pretty big issue because even if you do cut some frequencies out, those frequencies have like a counterpart pretty much. So a typical one for the voice is for like your vocals, if you boost 100 hertz, 1K hertz goes down a little bit. If you boost 1K hertz, your 10K goes down a little bit. So each one has like some kind of correspondence. So you have to really trust your ear with everything. When you're EQing and you're trying to find the perfect blend of sound and the perfect blend of frequencies for your instrument, you want to make sure that you're listening. So this could mean like you cut out frequencies, but at the same time you should boost frequencies. But you have to really trust your ear. You have to really think about what you're doing and also really listen to the sound. You know, if you're a producer, you should be able to really listen to your sound and grasp a full understanding of what the sound is. And by only using subtractive EQ, you may be jeopardizing your sound a little bit too much. So definitely consider, even if you're using subtractive EQ, definitely think of, all right, since I took this one out, what next do I have to boost? What next do I have to take out, etc. This also does not mean you only boost frequencies. You know, even if you have to take out a few frequencies, that's okay. You may not have to boost frequencies like other frequencies, but doesn't mean that you should only boost frequencies and just forget about taking out anything that's maybe hindering your track. You should always practice subtractive EQ, while you should also practice adding or boosting frequencies in your track. So at the end of the day, every frequency has a purpose. And so what you should be able to do is hear those purposes of each frequencies and determine whether or not they should be cut out or they should be enhanced. Tip number 2 is you're always using a high pass filter. Okay, so I know I preach about using your low cut filter all the time. So I know maybe my words and the way I describe it and the way I say things may get a little bit twisted. So I'm gonna clear this up right now. When I first started producing, my mixes were trash, okay? They were literal trash. Like, I mean garbage, guys. Like, they were the worst mixes ever. One of my friends who listened to one of my mixes one day, he was like, and that was like the most hurtful comment I've ever gotten, because I was like, dang, I thought I'm doing something good. But you really have to listen, all right? So a lot of your low range in all your sounds are important, okay? And maybe one thing that's really inhibiting the benefit of your mix is maybe you're cutting out too much low frequencies of different sounds. I know for me personally, I have spoken about in the other videos, always cut about 100 hertz, always cut out your low frequencies to make room for your bass and your kick. Yeah, 100%. Sometimes the cuts that I do are really drastic just because I know for a fact, all right, I want to layer this sound with another sound and I prefer the other sound over this sound. All right, so pretty much saying I prefer my piano, so I'm gonna leave a little bit more bass in my piano than that pad, because that pad is getting a little bit too, it would be a little bit too much to have all those low frequencies. So you have to really be smart about that. You know, for example, the other day when I had that pad going on one of my tracks, I put a high pass filter around like 180 hertz, which is cutting out pretty much the majority of your low end. So that is a drastic cut, and for some professionals that might be like, kid, what are you doing? And like 100% I get that. For me personally, if I use a pad, I always like to just cut out those low frequencies just so I can get that almost like a really rich sound. But that's only one-time occasion. You have to also consider the likes of the song. You have to also consider the likes of like what the track actually is. You know, if you're trying to, what kind of vibe are you trying to give off at the end of the day? Do you want your piano to stick out the most compared to the pad, or do you want the pad to fit in well with the piano? So pretty much you have to listen to your track and you have to trust your ears. What kind of vibe do you want to give off? What kind of vibe do you want that sound to give off? Do you want that sound to sound a little bit more tinny, a little bit more timid, because you want to boost another instrument in those frequencies? And also, are you going to be layering that sound with another sound and you prefer the other sound more than that sound that you cut? You know what I mean? So pretty much you just have to really trust your ears when it comes to using a high pass filter. For me personally, as I said before, I would always put one on, just because at least at the bare minimum, I would always do so right around the 20 hertz to 30 hertz range, because really, truly, anyone would tell you this, you can't really hear that sound in that portion, at least in that really small range of sound or frequencies. You're really not going to find that many audible sounds in there. So always try to at least put a high pass filter right around that 20 to 30 hertz range and just cut out that low end. And my third and final tip for you guys is you're EQing too little. All right, so some people may say that EQing little is the way to go. Some people may say that EQing too much is the way to go, or overdoing an EQ is the way to go. Listen, it depends on what you're trying to do. Sometimes, some instruments, in order to get them to stand out or to fit in your track, they need to have a crazy EQ. Like you may need a boost at like 2K plus 10 dB, and then you may need a cut at 1K around like minus 5 dB, and then you might need a boost at like 200, 200 hertz. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the instrument and the kind of vibe you're giving off of your track. You know, for me personally, in one of the Elvin Melendez songs that you guys will be hearing very soon, I promise you it's very soon.
I want it now!
Very soon, stay tuned. Elvin _Melendez _music. Follow him. Okay. So in one of the Elvin Melendez songs that you will hear, the single, for the main synth that I had to use, I did a massive, like a plus 15 increase in your high end of the synth that I used. So yes, sneak peek, it has a synth. The song has a synth. All right. I did a plus 15 dB increase in the 5K to 20K range. And without that dB increase of plus 15, the synth sounded so dead and it was not hitting me right. And so you have to listen to your track if you're a producer, okay? You have to really understand and grasp exactly what you're doing. You know, you have to understand the frequencies of the sound. You have to understand how the sound fits in your mix. If your mix is trash, go back, listen to your instruments, and see what's making it trash. And granted, some instruments don't need an EQ at all. For example, some of the flutes that I use, some of the horns that I use, some horns may need a little bit of EQ. I was able to find a really good horn sound the other day. You know, I didn't really have to EQ a lot. Some instruments you don't have to EQ. So don't think you always should put an EQ on something, but some instruments you just simply don't have to EQ. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if it was in one of the videos or another project I was working on. But the other day I was working on a track and there was no audio signal in the low end. It was only in the high end. So I didn't have to really mess around with the low end at all. The high end sounded fine to me, so I didn't have to put an EQ on that track. So it just depends on your instrument, it depends on your track, okay? So at the end of the day, guys, you just have to trust your ear, trust that what you're doing with EQ is okay, and also really like ask for feedback, okay? Ask for feedback from friends, from other musicians, from other professionals if you can find them. All that kind of stuff will help you at the end of the day. All right, guys. So with that being said, I wish you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Make sure you guys like, make sure you guys subscribe. Check out my Instagram at Professor Productions. Follow my team on Instagram, guys. Follow them on YouTube too. All their information will be linked in the description below. So I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.